Hello, everyone. It is a very funny topic that we have today. I'm just kidding. It is not funny. The topic is very serious. It is humor and literature. Many years ago in Trivandrum, we conducted a conference. It was called Humor. Wow, it was so good. There are so many different kinds of humor. So many writers write humor in different ways. There were even some international professors who came and talked about humor at our conference. It was amazing. And humor has such a long history. There is humor starting from Homer. You might know that. Who is the writer who wrote comedies in Greece? There was Aristophanes who wrote plays like The Frogs, The Wasps. There was Aristophanes who wrote plays like The Frogs, The Wasps. Obviously, all comedy is related to humor. There was also Menander who wrote comedies, but Menander wrote stock characters. Aristophanes wrote about individuals. He even attacked Socrates. Did you know that in the time of Plato and Aristotle, humor was there? But Plato, what do you think? Did he appreciate humor or mistrust humor? Distrust humor. Yes, Plato did not trust humor. Plato did not think that humor is good. He did not like comedy. He thought it is against social order. That is right, guys. Humor always has a disruptive potential. It has a transgressive potential. And that transgression, humorous transgression, is most seen in Mikhail Bakhtin's concept of the carnivalesque, where there is grotesque humor. Grotesque humor, that is the term. So going back to Greco-Roman period, in the Greco-Roman period, people like Horace, Juvenal, what kind of humor did they write? They wrote satires. So satire is a kind of humor that seeks to change people. Horace wrote a very mild, witty kind of satire, whereas Juvenal attacked people for their follies. Juvenal is angry and attacking people. That is Juvenalian satire. There is a lot of humor in Chaucer. For example, in Canterbury Tales, some are very funny characters. Some of the tales, my God, they are so funny and vulgar also. Canterbury Tales is modern for its humor because, like a very modern Renaissance work, Chaucer employs humor, whereas humor was not allowed in medieval literature. Humor was taboo in medieval literature. In Chaucer's time, there was Boccaccio. Boccaccio also employed humor in Decameron. Chaucer actually learned from Boccaccio. His source was Boccaccio's Decameron. I already mentioned Bakhtin. One contemporary of Chaucer and Boccaccio was there who wrote boisterous humor. There are things like a giant urinating and drowning a village. Do you know the work? Gargantua and Pantagruel by Rabelais. Rabelais wrote Rabelais. What did he write? Gargantua and Pantagruel, where the son is born out of the mother's ear. This is from where Bakhtin developed his idea of carnivalesque and grotesque laughter. I don't have to tell you, there is so much humor in Shakespeare. Midsummer Night's Dream, Taming of the Shrew. I should say there are different kinds of humor in Shakespeare. Some are dark, some are very slapstick. Slapstick means very physical kind of humor. You think you are sitting on a chair, but you are not and you fall. That is slapstick, for example. So, Midsummer Night's Dream, Twelfth Night. Even in the tragedies of Shakespeare, there is humor. What is that called? Comic relief. You know that in Shakespeare, there is the fool, there is the jester, there is the clown. All these people created humor. But you may also know that such humor came with satire. There was philosophical correction of the people and their follies involved in such humor. So, in Shakespeare's time, there is Cervantes. What is the work by Cervantes? Pakka humor it is. But very great philosophy also. Don Quixote or Don Quixote. What is happening there? Alonso Quijano is a country gentleman. He does not know anything. He is an ordinary person and he reads some chivalric romances and he thinks, wow, I am a knight like this. And he sets out thinking he is a knight. He is going to have adventures. He gets an assistant called Sancho Panza. Sancho Panza says, Arey, Don Alonso Quijano, you are not a knight. What are you imagining? Don't do all these things. He is going and fighting with windmills. He thinks he has got a lover. Sancho Panza is tired of trying to make him see reality. He does not see reality. He's living in that imaginative dream that he creates for himself. At the end, when that dream is diffused, when he comes back to reality, he is so disillusioned. He is so disillusioned that he dies. There is a play by Eugene O'Neill like that. It is called The Iceman Cometh. A lot of people, they are ordinary people. They are not great heroes or anything. And they have their pipe dreams. Pipe dreams are dreams that are not going to happen. And at the end, instead of their dreams getting fulfilled, it is the Iceman who is going to come for them. That is death. Talk about European writers. I can't forget Molière. Molière is the father of French comedy. Tartuffe, Misanthrope, The Miser. So many works by Molière that are classics. What did Molière do? He mocked hypocrisy. He mocked pretension and corruption. He critiqued the upper classes for being so stupid and unthinking. That was in the 17th century. In the 18th century, this influence of Molière led to satire in England. We have lots of people who wrote satire. Daniel Defoe wrote The True-Born Englishman, where the Englishman is depicted as great as compared to the Frenchman. Jonathan Swift wrote Gulliver's Travels and many other satires. Some of his satires are very crude, guys. A modest proposal for preventing the children of poor people from becoming a burden to their parents. He's saying, why don't you just fatten your children and kill them and sell them as food to the English? What? He's saying, Irish people, if you don't know how to look after yourselves and your children, this is what you should be doing. He's telling English people, you are like cannibals. Except eat the flesh of the Irish, everything else you're doing to them. He's attacking both these people through satire. Isn't it amazing? What Jonathan Swift did in prose was done by Alexander Pope in poetry. Rape of the Lock, Dunciad. And it was done in the novel. The same thing was done in the novel by Henry Fielding. Lawrence Sterne is mocking the very genre of the novel. He is writing a very playful, experimental, I can even say it's a postmodern novel. Which one? Tristram Shandy. There is so much humor in Charles Dickens. Mark Twain in America. Oh, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is such a hilarious work. And it makes fun of the adults, the, middle class people who are pretending to be great and perfect in favor of a natural life. If you think of people attacking the upper classes, you can't forget Oscar Wilde. Not only did he write satirical plays and a novel against such hypocritical people, if you Google, you will know the witticisms of Oscar Wilde. Oh my God, there are hundreds. So many funny, witty statements he made. The other day, one of my friends asked me, who is the humorous writer in English? Is there humor in English? For some reason, we were talking about it and he did ask me this. And I said, there is satire in English. There is humor in many writers. But out and out humor, I can only think of one person. It is P.G. Wodehouse. Jeeves, the butler he created. He is famous for his light-hearted comedies of English life. Very silly plots. And linguistic play is very clever. Think of the writers who has created fun with word play. Of course, Shakespeare, G.B. Shaw, James Joyce. Many people have just created fun in English literature with word play. Dr. Johnson even said, puns and quibbles are Shakespeare's fatal Cleopatra. There were also some other later 20th century writers, like Lucky Jim, for example, by Kingsley Amis, is a very comic novel. Again, it is a kind of satire. A satirical novel making fun of war is Joseph Heller's Catch-22, American. One is there making fun of communism. That is Milan Kundera's The Joke, where the communist leader cannot even understand a joke. Arvind Adiga's White Tiger makes fun of India and the rooster coop of India. So in literature, there are so many examples of writers who either wrote comic escapism or wrote satire on society and institutions. Sinclair Lewis, another writer in America. Some humor is very dark. Black humor is there. Gallows humor is there. Set in prisons, and very morbid humor is there. Joseph Heller is an example for that. Catch-22. Think of anti-war novels. There is another very searing picture of war. That is Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut wrote Slaughterhouse-Five. That is also like that. Milan Kundera also. I already mentioned The Joke. That is also a novel where communism and its oppressive dictatorial nature is destroying a man. There are some fun novels like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There is if you think of history and satire on society and humor, there is one novel that I couldn't put down. It was quite unputdownable, which is that it is our Midnight's Children, God of Small Things, 100 Years of Solitude. All of them have their own kind of humor. In Indian English literature, I particularly like Khushwant Singh for his humor. There's a very mild kind of light-hearted humor in Ruskin Bonds. So many kinds of humor. Some are very local about, if you have to know that culture, that language in order to understand. Some humor is very global. Some humor is dark. Some humor is very light. Some humor is positive. Some humor is negative. So all that is there. Now, from the ancient times, there are theories of philosophers related to humor. Humor is for relief. Humor, we laugh at people because we feel superior to them, etc. I think it is Andre Bergson in the 20th century who wrote about laughter. Andre Bergson, Roland, some modernists like that, other than Bakhtin, are there. Northrop Frye talks about comedy in Anatomy of Criticism. Comedy is compared to spring in Anatomy of Criticism. Absurdist humor, I didn't mention Samuel Beckett, Kafka, Eugene Ionesco, everybody in a town turning into rhinoceroses. War humor. And in feminism and queer studies, I think I was fascinated by something. One of my female friends, she laughs a lot. Okay, she's always laughing. Her husband always scolds her. Why are you laughing unnecessarily? Don't laugh. Women laughing will bring ill luck and things like that, some people believe. I keep thinking, women and laughter, feminism, a feminist view of women and laughter. We should write a paper on that. And what about queer humor? I go to prides, queer pride and Pride March, and I closely know some queer people. There is a lot of fun they have, dancing, music, laughter. That laughter is the carnivalesque laughter. that laughter that goes against the mainstream. That laughter has a subversive potential. All that is worthy of research. Cultural studies and contemporary theories can help you with the idea of humor as rebellion, humor as critique, humor, global humor, intermediate or cross media humor, humor in the classroom. How can you de-stress your students by bringing humor in the classroom? Let them laugh at the establishment. So many ideas. It's magnificent that I was able to talk to you about it, because I learned a lot from it and I loved and I have become lightheaded. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. And I hope you will take this forward and become great scholars in all these topics. All the best to you. Bye bye. See you again very soon.